Yo, what's up guys, it's Lost Griff. Now, I know what you're thinking. What controls do I want to use on MultiVersus? I know I should have made this video a little bit earlier, but I want to have a video that's not only usable now, but will also be usable in the near future whenever a lot of settings that are heavily requested are added into the game. I'll be telling you not only what settings to change as they come out, but also the ones you should be running right now to have the biggest advantage you possibly can over your opponent. I will try to cover a controller. I'll explain for PS4 as well. It's not like I'm only using GameCube controller. There's a lot of people that ask what type of controller I'm using. It's a Hori GameCube layout for Smash Ultimate and the Switch basically. I've been using GameCube controller layouts for a while for platform fighters. I think it's the most fun, and I think it just fits the layout really well. But yeah, I'll be going over all of it because I do believe that I can give a good insight into what's good for every button. Okay, so first we're going to start off with controls. I'm going to go over controller and keyboard pretty briefly here. The inputs, like for default, can be pretty good. Typically, just stick with whatever's comfortable whenever it comes to attack, special, dodge, jump. The only thing I want to recommend for you guys, anything you can use your pointer finger for to jump with, because it can make certain aerials a lot easier to do, and a lot of combos a lot easier in general. This is common in other platform fighters, and if you're not a veteran, then trust me, this is a massive way to get an advantage with your execution. Also, always make sure to bind a comfortable button that's free for neutral attack and neutral special. These are really useful, like neutral special, for example, is really useful on Tom and Jerry. I would consider looking at if you'd rather use joystick or D-pad. Both can be good. There's not many D-pad players as far as I know, but I feel like I could actually be pretty decent in this game. I would set a grab item button as well if you can, because it can be really useful on characters like Shaggy, who can pull an item out of the ground. Make sure you bind your right stick to buttons, because I mean they are like that by default, but if they aren't, make sure they are, because this can be extremely useful. One thing you should keep in mind, and I've actually been considering binding, is you can bind a special for a button. This might honestly be really useful on certain characters, so definitely experiment with this if you're a character who's very reliant on a certain special for a combo or something. This could genuinely cook. With dead zones, I don't have any particular preferences as to what dead zones I use. I don't think you're going to be a good player all of a sudden just because you change your dead zones, but I do think you should experiment with it. Personally, everything I input gets input properly in this game. I used to have problems in the beta where side specials would get picked up as up specials all the time, but I don't really have that problem almost ever anymore. So I feel like the dead zones are actually better in the new version. Let me know what you guys think about that though. Next up we got keyboard. So you can kind of just use the similar controls you would use in Brawlhalla. So I like to use ASD, and then you can use W for up and then have a jump as a different button. Having W as jump can make it kind of hard to move around. You press jump too much on accident because it's just so easy. So just use up as in to input an attack, not to actually jump. Just like with controller, you want to bind your neutral attack and neutral special button to whatever you're comfortable with. You can do these as the buttons that are above your JKL buttons for your attack special keybinds. Shift can be a good dodge button, but experiment with L because shift can be kind of tough on your pinky, depending on how much you need to dodge. And yeah, basically the same deal, but also one more thing to keep in mind, you can also use all of your keys to bind certain buttons. So y'all, this is your chance to nerd out. Keyboard players, you guys have an option to basically like customize your guys' controls like crazy. So I'd highly recommend trying to bind some of these buttons as keys. All right, so we're done with controls. Let's get into interface. So one thing I want to say is that it doesn't really matter where your positions are for everything. I think it comes down to preference. I think bottom is a little bit easier than top personally, just because you're knocking people into the top of the blast zone all the time. Just less things on the screen. But it's also worth noting that you want to get rid of outlines because these are so distracting and can make it really hard to tell what's going on. So I don't really like to have any of these on. If you feel like it's easier to have enemy or ally outlines on or whatever, that's fair. But for me personally, I just think it's really useful to keep these off just so you can see the honest hitboxes of all the characters. This is just easier for viewer clarity, but again, it's totally up to you. Audio is completely preference, but make sure you turn on mature language because it's, you know, obviously why would you not want cussing in the game? Some of the voice lines with the cussing is actually kind of fire. All right, next up with graphics. So personally, it's not smart to use windowed full screen. You get better frames on full screen. As the game caps at a certain amount, because that was a problem in the beta actually, is people could uncap their frames and they had an advantage over other players. But now you can't really do that. There's no real frame exploit anymore. So I think it's just locked at 60. I wouldn't worry too much about graphical settings. Again, it's not going to affect your gameplay. It's kind of a placebo. And there's no way to uncap it yet, so I imagine there's no real way you can get an advantage. And again, unless you're having a problem with clarity or seeing anything, graphics changes won't really do much. So the really only thing I would say is turn off vertical sync if you can, because it just notoriously causes more problems than it solves. And turn off one frame thread lag because there's no point, it doesn't do anything. Now with the online section, you can do certain things for privacy. You can also turn crossplay on and off depending on if you have connection problems to certain consoles. Now, final section I kind of want to include here, what you should change whenever they come out. Now, first of all, there would be a button dropping for you guys soon here, but you can change your neutral attack button on the ground. So if you have this binded, you'll be able to change it from your neutral attack to your side light. So now, for example, characters that use jab a lot, you will now be able to change your side attack to your neutral attack shortcut on the ground, which is super useful, especially for us controller users that don't really have much buttons to work with. It feels kind of awkward to have neutral attack on the ground as its separate button when it's usually used kind of like a smash attack, like a forward smash kind of. Most of them, that's how it's kind of used. So it feels awkward to not press A inside to get it. I don't know if that's just me, but that correlated with dash attack as well just makes more sense. So I recommend trying that out in certain characters that are very reliant on jab. Next up, another thing that's going to be added is going to be a change to input buffer. So basically, depending on how much of a masher you are, you can change your input buffer. They have it at 30. I believe Smash Ultimates is 8 or like 9 or something like that. And a lot of other platform fighters are anywhere between like 5 and 10 usually is the median. This will basically just change how long you need to input something before it'll come out. Basically, the number it's at right now puts us in a situation where you are rewarded for pressing less buttons and pressing them less fast and focusing more on precision. Me, I kind of input a little bit sloppy. So for me, this feels super sluggish and I feel like a lot of my inputs drop. So you'll be able to change this from 30 down to like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, or you can keep it at 30 if you've gotten used to what MultiVersus has at its default. But this is a button you guys will want to mess with because it can definitely affect your execution and your skills in the game. And honestly, that's pretty much everything for settings, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. The settings aren't super fleshed out like they were previously in the beta, but so far I actually like the fact that we at least have specials on controller now. I really want to try it out for certain characters. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to check out my other gameplay videos if you want to learn some new stuff. Peace out.